Nowadays, PSG can sign basically whoever they want, and no one can do anything about it, not even financial fair play can stand in their way. While they're rich as could be now, that wasn't always the case for the French side, and they've had their fair share of rogue players on their books, as well as the superstars you see today. Here are 9 players you didn't know were at PSG. Number 1, Miguel Arteta. He was number 1 in our Barcelona video, and he's number 1 in the PSG video as well. Maybe we just don't know that much about Miguel Arteta. One day we should sit down together and have a beer, get to know each other. But anyway, back when Arteta was a kid at Barcelona, he was unable to break into the first team and was sent out on loan to France, snapped up by PSG in December 2000. The midfielder was used as a playmaker in the French capital and impressed, making 31 league appearances for the club. There was talk of Arteta remaining at PSG, but Rangers instead swooped in and forced him to swap the luxury of Paris for the hardened streets of Glasgow. That'll certainly have been a massive culture shock for the Spaniard. Number 2, Davon GOG. For fans of continuity, in the Barcelona video we followed a former Everton player with a former Liverpool player, and this time we're going to do the same and go with Davon GOG. The French forward has hardly a hit at Anfield, which has basically summed up his entire career. Despite being a striker, GOG has never been a prolific forward, with his best league season so far coming at Bolton in the Championship where he scored 8 times. His first professional goal would come at a much bigger club though, finding there for PSG in the French League Cup against Lorient. In that game he bagged a brace, ending his time at PSG with 3 goals in 25 games, having come through the club's academy. Now aged 29, GOG is playing for Budapest Honvéd, having also had spells at Ross County, Panionios and Swansea. Number 3, Sol Bamba. While it might be pretty funny that Neil Warnock once thought Sol Bamba was better than Virgil van Dijk, Sol Bamba has done something that the Liverpool defender hasn't, and that's play for PSG, which has got to mean something. Bamba became a PSG player at the age of 11, joining the French side's youth ranks, going on to play for the club twice in his early 20s. But his time at PSG ended on a sour note, eventually rejecting a new deal and leaving due to the lack of opportunities and not being allowed to go out on loan. His next club would be a strange one, Dunfermline, where he really kicked off quite the odd career, where he would play in Scotland, England, Turkey, Italy and now Wales. He's also played for the Ivory Coast 44 times, which is another thing that the Dutchman Virgil van Dijk has never done. Bamba is miles better, now pass me another beer. Number 4, Patrice Evra. The happy-go-lucky Frenchman has had an interesting few years that saw him kick a fan and lose his job at Marseille before ending up at West Ham where it was clear he'd lost the magic touch. Then he took up punditry duties at the World Cup, offending all of the women in the process. But away from the controversy, Evra was a sensational left-back back in the day. He won almost everything there is to win at Manchester United, then added to his trophy cabinet with a move to Juventus. But another giant club he once played for was PSG, but only when he was a kid. Evra was part of the PSG Academy in 1997, where he became a winger. He didn't last long there, being released after failing to impress and eventually ending up in Italy. When they look back at his career, PSG must shake their heads with disbelief. What an oversight this was. Number 5, Youssouf Malumbu. You know you've had a rough transfer market when one of your marquee signings is Youssouf Malumbu, but that was exactly the situation at Celtic this summer. Malumbu is best known for his 6 years with West Brom, where he made more than 200 appearances for the Baggies, proving to be a solid Premier League midfielder. But where did West Brom get Malumbu from? Well, it was Paris Saint-Germain of course. The Congo international came through the PSG youth ranks, beginning there in 2004 and spending a fair few seasons playing for the side's B team. Malumbu would make it to the PSG first team, making 13 League One appearances before joining West Brom in 2009. Number 6, Ray Wilkins. An absolute legend of the game, Ray Wilkins played for some huge clubs during his illustrious career, making more than 200 appearances for Chelsea, then just falling shy of the 200 mark at Man United. He would test himself away from England by playing for AC Milan, but one country he was less successful in was France. Wilkins moved to PSG in 1987, but struggled to really break into the team and make his mark. A few months later Wilkins was on the move again, heading to Rangers where he'd remind everyone of what he was capable of, including a stunning Old Firm goal. Wilkins sadly lost his life this year, suffering a cardiac arrest in March 2018. Number 7, Habibi. The Senegalese defender spent most of his career in France, having lengthy spells at both Strasbourg and Marseille. But before he played for either of those sides, he was at PSG. While he was on the books there, Bay didn't get close to the first team, only getting as far as the reserves, which forced the right back to move on. In 2007 we got to see what Bay could do in England, joining Newcastle United. During a tough time for the club, Bay was one of their standout performers, but was unable to keep the Magpies in the Premier League, which would have been pretty hard considering he was playing at right back. He would leave Newcastle alongside many of his teammates, but his career was as good as over, going on to have minimal appearances for both Aston Villa and then Doncaster Rovers. So it began in Paris and ended in Doncaster. I can't think of many other careers like that. Number 8, Kingsley Corman. When I was a teenager, I played for 2 teams and both of them were fairly naff. When Kingsley Corman was a teenager, he played for 3 of the biggest teams in Europe, Bayern Munich, Juventus and firstly PSG. In 2004, Corman became a PSG player, joining their academy before the age of 10. In 2013, Corman would make his way into the first team, becoming the club's youngest ever player at the age of 16 years, 8 months and 4 days. In total, Corman would play only 4 times for PSG in the league, leaving in 2014 to join Juventus. Not only did he leave, but he left on a free, meaning the Paris side lost one of their best young talents for absolutely nothing. He wouldn't be at Juve for long though, joining Bayern Munich on a deal that would eventually cost the Germans €28 million, showing just how poorly PSG dealt with the Corman situation. And finally, number 9, Maurizio Pochettino. Our final forgotten PSG player is the current Tottenham Hotspur boss Maurizio Pochettino, who played for 4 different clubs in his career, including a spell in the French capital. Pochettino is most famous for playing for Espanyol across 3 spells, eventually going on to manage the club, but the biggest team he played for was PSG. In 2001, the Argentine joined the Red and Blues and played for the club 95 times across all competitions. During this time, PSG weren't the trophy-laden club they are today, so Poch was unable to get his hands on any silverware, which has been a constant theme throughout his career. He won 2 Argentinian league titles and 2 Copa del Reys as a player, but has yet to pick up anything as a manager. Will that change this season? So those are 9 players you didn't know played for Paris Saint-Germain. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.